We just built one of the cleanest, most visually stunning custom PCs inside of one of Lian Li's newest PC cases. If you are the type of person who loves showing off their work like me, stick around because we're gonna be looking at just how this thing works and talking about just who this case is right for. Is this the ultimate case for displaying PCs? Well, let's find out. We have another o11 case from Lian Li here in the Robeytech studios, and we're gonna be reviewing this today. This is the o11 Vision. This PC case comes to us as a collaboration between Lian Li and the folks over at PC Master Race, or PCMR. What's up, Pedro? I miss you. As a result of combining their powers of case building and distilling community enthusiasm for PCs, Lian Li has produced the seamless glass and metal case that puts the glory of the PC front and center. If you're wondering what magic holds this whole thing together, it's not unobtainium. The glass panels are connected by a single triangle-shaped mount in the upper right-hand corner right here of the case that is tastefully hidden so that nothing gets in the way of your majestic build. And you know what? We can get down with that. We love PCs. We love showing off our PCs. And this case is so bold that it just lets everything hang out. Okay, that sounded a lot weirder than what I meant to. Let's just talk about the case, okay? The Lian Li o11 Vision is available in both black and white, with the black case retailing for $139.99 and the white case coming in at $149.99. It's like a crime. Is white really just that much more expensive? Do we have to spend $10 more? Okay, so as far as dimensions go, the o11 Vision is about 12 inches wide, 18.29 inches tall, and just under 19 inches deep. Now, I know many of you at Europe, don't worry, I have been taking care of Damien. He will not be ignoring us. From now on, you will see millimeters in the videos moving forward, right, Damien?
That's right, guys, I'm sorry.
That's right, yeah, you know what? You don't want to see what he's dealing with right now. So when we compare that to other o11, the size-wise, it's slightly larger than the o11 Dynamic Evo, but not quite as large as the Evo XL. So does that make the o11 Vision a Goldilocks case, where it's not too big, but it's also not too small? Just like Brian? So what is also just right in this case is the I/O and the controls. The o11 Vision keeps everything super simple with power and reset switches, 2 USB 3.0 ports, 1 USB Type-C port, and a combination audio mic port. Just enough ports to be practical, but not so many that it becomes a center for tangled wires and mismatched dongles. Looking inside of the case, which is super easy to do and kind of the whole point, the o11 Vision supports micro ATX, mini ITX, and ATX motherboards, as well as eATX motherboards under 280 millimeters, or 11 inches. So, is that really supporting eATX? Okay. As for GPUs, the o11 Vision supports GPUs up to 455 millimeters or just under 19 inches in length. In other words, it can accommodate the largest of GPUs. Now, since the top panel is entirely glass, the Vision has a slightly different layout of fan mounting. With the top mounting kind of out of the picture, the o11 Vision can fit 3 120 millimeter or 2 140 millimeter fans on the side, 3 120 millimeter or 3 140 millimeters at the bottom, and up to 2 120 millimeter fans in the rear, which that's different. As for CPU coolers, this case has the option to mount either a 280 millimeter or 360 millimeter rad in the case at either the side or the bottom. Now, I know we said it could do 340 millimeter fans at the bottom, but it does not say that it has support for a 420 millimeter AIO or radiator at the bottom. Now, the interesting thing is you could do 240 millimeter radiator in the rear. I don't know if that's necessarily good for like CPU, but if you had a GPU with a 240 millimeter radiator, this could be a potential option here. We're going to talk a little bit more about the rear fan and its use here later on, but just hold on to that for a second. Let's talk about PSU support. The o11 Vision can accommodate ATX style PSUs up to 220 millimeters in length. In other words, it will fit most standard PSUs and have some room to spare for cabling. It also has a slight bump out in the back, and it's up to you on whether you like that or not. But one thing, much like the H6 Flow we just reviewed, you are going to want to take it very easy on cabling. This does not have all of the room that you are used to with other o11 cases. Now, for hard drive mounts, the Vision has a hard drive cage that sits right above the PSU. It can support two 3.5-inch hard drives or 2.5-inch SSDs. And if that wasn't enough space for storage, there are the same, like through the era of time, you can put the same 3 mounting spots for 2.5-inch SSDs right there on the cable management cover. After seeing this absolutely stunning build, you're probably wondering, Robey, how does this thing actually perform? And you know what? I'm really glad you asked. It's super convenient that you asked the same questions that I have written right down to answer. You guys are so thoughtful. It's like you watch these videos all the time. As we get into the numbers, we need to talk for a minute about how we tested this case, since we typically mount our AIOs at the top of the case, but you can't do it on this one because it's glass. Now, for our testing, what we did instead is we did a side mount of the radiator with the fans pushing air through the radiator and out of the back of the case. But that made us ask some questions about the fan in the back, just sitting back there. We just said, fan without air intake from the front and the side fans pushing air up and through a radiator, should the fan in the back carry the responsibility of drawing air into the case? In other words, should we make it intake? I mean, it's just a little guy, and there's a lot of work. We also didn't want to create a situation where the case was like fighting with the radiator fans by making the rear fan an exhaust fan, which, yes, is typical, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's what you have to do. So we tested with intake and without, and here's what we discovered. It didn't change much. That's the short. While idling, the o11 Vision averaged 31 degrees Celsius on the CPU and 32 degrees on the GPU with the rear case fan. Without it, the CPU was slightly cooler at 30 degrees Celsius, while the GPU ran slightly warmer at 33 degrees Celsius. These numbers position the o11 Vision near other tempered glass heavy cases like the NZXT H9 Elite and the Height Y40, which, I know you're looking at the graphic here, is not necessarily the best. Now, under heavy CPU load, the Vision struggled to keep things cool, with CPU temps at 77 degrees and GPU temps at 30 without the help of the rear fan, but if you took the rear fan and made it intake, you actually got 28 degrees with. Lian's o11 Vision was starting to look performance-wise like the Height Y40, which also carried over into our gaming benchmarks. In our 1440p gaming benchmarks, the Vision found its home among some of the other hotter cases, like the Y40 and the NZXT H9, with CPU temps at 52 degrees with the case fans and 53 without. As for GPU thermal performance, the o11 Vision held averages of 58 without the case fan and 57 degrees with. Overall, we only noticed a 0.5 degree difference between having a fan set to intake and having no fan in place at all. While any extra cooling is helpful, we're not quite sure having a fan made enough of a difference to include it. And even if we added a second fan and did 2 intake fans, we're not entirely sure that would change it all that much either. Now, what may have worked in the Vision's favor is using 140mm fans in the bottom of the case, since those are the main source of air intake, but that's an experiment for another day. So let's switch gears and talk about building inside the o11 Vision. Because of just how open this case is, and because you can remove all of the glass panels, mostly with ease, there is a lot of space to work with. But there are limited ways to hide cable runs. We found it helpful to use interconnecting fans like Lian's Uni SL Infinity fans, using gaps for tucking cables, and installing the motherboard and AIO outside of the case. Not, in other words, don't install it and then leave it out there. You put it back in the case afterwards. Point being is that you take it out of the case, and I just want to make that clear. Now, these are vital for showcase builds like this one, which honestly, there's a lot of hidden cables here. But that last part is important because once the motherboard is inside the case, it is a bear to get to the back of it. Now, you might be wondering, how can you simultaneously install the motherboard inside and outside of the case? Do you need to have Schrodinger's motherboard, because you're trying to simultaneously install the motherboard inside and outside of the case? You know what? Brian thought that joke was funny. He did laugh. Okay, there we go. No, you don't need special reality shifting motherboards. The o11 Vision has a removable motherboard tray like the Evo XL, but this one is slightly different in that you only have 2 positions that you can sit inside the case. So you can mount it at the top, like what we have right now, or you can mount it at the lower part and get this huge forehead up top. Listen, I know you want to see the forehead, but it was like so much forehead that it was more like a 5 head, and I like you too much to show that to you. I'm looking at you, Phanteks NV7. Overall, the experience is pretty similar to other Lian Li cases, which means there are some similar considerations if you're looking at picking one of these up. In other words, because of just how open it is up front, that means that the space in the back can fill up really fast. You also need to be careful and creative about how you route cables, not to mention be smart about the order of operations. So let's put it all together. Let's talk about the final thoughts. What do we think of the Lian Li o11 Vision? Well, we think it's just really pretty. And chances are that if you're this far into this video, you are just as stunned,
Enamored.
yeah, enamored. What's another word? Oh, you're the word guy. You didn't even have anything. That's kind of the whole point of this design, to stoke passion for your PC by putting its glorious power on full display. But what we discovered though is that if you want outer beauty to match the inner beauty, you'll want to do a few things. Thing one, make sure you don't go overkill with the parts you put in the Vision. Just because you can doesn't mean that you should cram all of the most powerful components in here. Remember, CPUs and GPUs generate a lot of heat, and the o11 Vision has very limited ventilation. So if you're gonna build in this case, be smart about your parts. Ideally, you want to use something like Intel's 14700K or AMD's 7800X3D alongside a mid-tier GPU like the RTX 4070 Ti or the RX 7800 XT, though GPU is a little bit less demanding than the CPU. Honestly, any combination of these would make an absolutely killer rig, but point being is, guys, when the temps are up there with the Y40, that's not necessarily a good thing. Thing two, be smart about your cables. As awkward as I may have been earlier in the video, this case it's so open and out there. I'm just gonna say it. It's naked. And because of this, there is no room to hide cable runs at all. Yes, the grommets are helpful and there are covers for these cableways, but stray cables, especially if they don't match the color of the case, which frankly is just gonna happen a lot, they're just gonna get noticed, especially if you're doing the white version, which you don't see it on ours because we did a dang good job of hiding in them all. This is where using interconnected fans like Lian Li's SL Infinity fans, Corsair's IQ Link QX120 fans, or even Phanteks' D30s are helpful at minimizing cables. Thing three, take your time building. You know what, I say this so often. I know it's super cliche to say this, but when building in the o11 Vision, which is totally made for making your build look as good as possible, just enjoy the process. For us to arrive at the final build like this, it took time to look at where we could hide the cables and make sure it was as stunning as it could be. And if you want to get something that looks this good, it is going to take patience and it is going to take time. If you are impatient and you just want to rush through it, this may not be the case for you. At the end of the day, cases like these help builders like you and me slow down as we create something so aesthetic. So embrace the journey of building and enjoy the process of creating a beautiful piece of art of your own. If you're looking to craft stunning builds and you want to dazzle the peasantry with the glory of the PC, the o11 Vision is a compelling choice. Seriously, this thing turned out so good. But if you want to build something that is a powerhouse filled with the best components, this may not be the case that you want to look at. These were our impressions of Lian Li's o11 Vision, but we want to know what you think about it. How would you build in the o11 Vision? Let us know down in the comments below. And while you're down there, go ahead and slap that subscribe button, whip that like button, and ring that notification bell so that you get a notification each and every time we post a video like this right here at Robeytech. Thank you so much for watching this video. Now just look at more B-roll of this beautiful build as it goes by, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.